Welcome back to another video, guys, and we are still on the Easter holidays, which is absolutely fantastic. It's been a really nice holiday, this one. We are coming to the end of it now, and as you can hear, the weather is starting to turn a little bit. Sadly, the weather's been glorious for the past 2 weeks. It is getting a bit windy, so if you hear some wind in the background, that's what that kind of whooshing noise is. We are coming to the end of the holidays, and today we're talking about how to build expectations with your class. We're going to be looking at what kind of things you do to make sure the expectations are right for your classroom, and it's something that as a teacher I've had a lot to do in terms of kind of working on for myself and my own development, because when I first started teaching, it was not something I was very good at. It's something I did make a few mistakes in when I first started out, whereas now I feel I'm a lot better at teaching in that sense and making sure the expectations of the children are a lot higher. But it is something I still continue to work on, and like I've been talking recently about presentation maths books, my expectations weren't that high there, and now they are much better. So we're going to talk today about how to improve that, how to make sure what you're doing is right. It's especially hopefully useful for those of you that are first about to move into your teaching job. And as always, thank you so much for all the support on this channel. It's really useful for all the people that kind of like the videos and share them, and as always, the comments on the videos and subscribing to the channel just help it out and help me help you guys, so thank you very much. So today we're going to get into this video, and we're going to start off by making sure you know what your expectations are. So I'm going to be coming at this from kind of a year 4, year 5 point of view, because that's where I've been teaching for the last 4 years. There will be some differences in terms of expectations for a year 1 or a year 2 class or an EYFS class, but this is kind of applicable to year 3, 4, 5 and 6. I think it would work well across all those year groups, and if you do want something more specific to year 1 and year 2, then I sadly can't help you very much there, as I don't have any experience teaching in those year groups, but hopefully some of these tips will still help you guys as well. So first of all, you need to know where to set your expectations. If you've never taught in that year group before, what can you do to have a look at what the expectation should be? And my first bit of advice would be to have a look at what the children did the year before. So whoever was teaching that year group previously, what work did they do? And go and find someone. It could be a line manager, it could be a more experienced teacher, it could be the teacher that taught those lessons, and kind of ask them, what were your expectations with this? What were you looking for when this work was done? Could you see an example of some expected work for that year group, some greater depth work, some working towards work, that kind of thing, and get a good grip of the types of work that was done before, because that's what you're kind of building your basis off. That's what you're aiming for. If the previous teacher was doing really well, then you're trying to emulate what they were doing in that group, in that year group. So yeah, go have a look at some previous work and kind of work out where that work is aimed at, where that work is set at, and then have a look at the curriculum that you are teaching, because as you're moving into a new year group, you're moving into a new curriculum. You need to work out what the curriculum is that you're going to be doing and how you can kind of make sure that that curriculum is set at the right level for the children in your class. And that's the third thing you need to look at before you even talk to the children, is you need to make sure you have a good understanding of the children that are in your class that is coming through. So those children, some cohorts of children are generally of a higher ability, some are of a lower ability, some are in the middle, some are better at reading, some are better at math. There will be something where that class is generally strong at, there'll be something where that class is generally not so good at. You need to make sure that your work is set towards the strengths and the weaknesses of that class, and making sure that you're ready to help them reach the expected level in all areas of the subjects you are teaching them, and not just certain bits that they enjoy. So once you've done all of that and you've set all your expectations in your head and you know what they are, then it's about how do you set them for the children? How do you make sure that they know what they need to do? And the first thing is, be rigid with your expectations. Don't let them slip. That was one I had recently with my math books, where my expectations have been set at the start of the year. They've been set very high. They've been doing really well. And then over the course of the year, as various things have happened and things have changed and I'd not really focused on it too much, the presentation in the books had kind of fallen off and it got a bit messy. And so we had to take it, the bar had kind of slipped down. We take it right all the way back up to there. And so we say, right, actually no, expectations are up here again. Let's do that. And the children performed brilliantly. They brought it back and they showed that they could do it again. And I obviously showed that I could do it again as well. And they did really well. But that's the thing with your expectations, where you set them, it's much easier to let your expectations slip than hold them up there. And it's something that's really hard to do, and you have to really consistently every single day remind the children of what those expectations are and have them set at that level. But it's about making sure that you keep them set there and they don't ever let slip, because once they slip, it is harder to push them back up again. And if you set them too low, then it's very hard to then increase them. If you set them too high, then you can kind of change some bits of it to an appropriate level if you need to. It's about setting that at roughly the right level from the get-go and being strict with it. Now that doesn't mean being strict in terms of telling the children off if they don't do something right, because they're going to make mistakes and things are going to go wrong, especially if you're doing something differently to the teacher they've had before. But it's about making sure that that level you set at, you're strict with the fact that that level does not move, and you help the children reach that level rather than letting the level slip to where they are now. Because you should always be striving to do better for you and for your class, and the children should always be striving to do better with their work as well and for themselves. So yeah, first of all, once you've got that bar in your head, tell the children what you're expecting and keep that bar where you want it. Don't let it slip, don't let it fall. It is really difficult to hold it there, and you have to remind yourself as well as children every single day of what you need to do. It's about keeping it there every single time. So now your expectations are set, it's all about how to keep them going, how to keep those expectations up there, and that can be things like the amount of work that's done, how to present your work and make sure it's neat in books, that kind of thing. How do you keep that going throughout the whole school year without letting the bar slip? Now the first thing to do that is to use examples of work, okay? So every time you see a good example of work that's done well, that's done neatly, hold it up to the group, show the class, praise the child that's done it, say yes, well done, that's amazing. Really lay heavy on the praise for the things that you want to see, because as you go through the school year and as you go through the term, the children will be wanting to do the best that they can for themselves and for you, and by praising them, they're going to want that praise too. So every time someone does something well, even if the majority of the class done well, give them all that bit of praise. They all deserve it if they've worked hard and they've done good. And so when they've done well in their maths books or in the English books, they've done some neat handwriting, they've done some good math, praise what you want to see, okay? Every time someone says, yeah, I've done that, sir, then yes, well done, that's amazing, brilliant, fantastic. Have a dojo point, have a house point, whatever it is your school does. Offer that praise for the things you want to see, because the children will be working for that praise. They want that praise. They want to feel good about themselves. They want to make sure they're making you feel good for what they're doing. So yeah, keep on praising the things you want to see, and as you continue that praise, as you continue highlighting the amazing things that you're doing rather than focus on the negatives, then the children will keep on aiming towards that. And that's another good point about not focusing on the negatives, okay? Don't just focus on the fact that some of the children aren't quite doing it right. If a child isn't quite presenting the work in the right way, then have a quiet word with them, show them how to do it. Don't just tell them they're doing it wrong, tell them to fix it. Show them how to fix it. Give them an example of work that maybe you've done or another child's done near them, and say, look, see how they've done the work correctly? Could you just lay yours out like that? Could you just change it to be like that? Set those expectations straight away, but don't tell them off if they're not quite doing it right. Make sure you're supporting them in how to do it right, okay? Have examples of what you're looking for. It might be up on the board. A good trick for me that I've always done with my maths books recently is when I want to show the children how they're going to lay their work out, I have some squared paper up on the board, and I make sure that on the board I go through and lay out exactly how I want the work to start every single lesson, okay? Now that's something that you might think, do you have to do every single lesson? Do you have to? But actually you do, okay? Every single lesson I'll go up to the board and I'll put on the board how I want the work to be laid out, and we'll do the first couple of questions together. It's a good chance for the children to see me practicing my handwriting, making sure I'm laying my work out correctly, and it's a good example for them to see so they can start their work neatly and then continue from that. And it's good maths practice because we do a couple of questions at the start together so they can see what they're meant to be doing for that lesson. But yeah, you have to do it every day. You have to keep on reminding them, keep on showing them how to do it every single time, and that just means your standards are always set at that level. If you don't put it up on the board, then they might kind of start cutting corners. They might forget that they're meant to do something and not do it that day, and then it all just starts to slip and fall. So it's all about setting expectations right up there and showing them exactly what you want them to do. So now you've set your expectations and you've shown the children what you want them to do, and you've praised the children for the ones that are doing really well. What about the fact that actually it's not always going to plan, and some things maybe aren't being followed, some things aren't being done? What can you do about that? Now the first thing is always important to remember that when something isn't happening, there's normally a reason behind it. If something's not going well, if something's not going the way you want it to, if someone's not responding the way you want it to, there's normally a reason behind that. So start off by having a talk to whoever it is that's involved. Whatever the reason is, why it's going on, have a talk to them and see what you can find out. If you have had that chat with them and you kind of worked out what's going on, then start to fix the reason. Once the reason's fixed, then the work will become neater, the work will be better, whatever it is, okay? If that reason, if whatever it is that's bugging them, that's aggravating them, is still there, it's still happening, then obviously their work's not going to improve. Now, for sometimes that might be a fact that you can't really change that, you can't fix the reason why they're not doing the work, why things aren't going to plan, and in that case you have to kind of work towards a compromise, get some kind of system going together that will help the child out. But normally there is something you can do to fix it, and by all means do it, okay? Because you've got these expectations there, and you're expecting the children to do the work, and they're expecting the same off you. They're expecting you to work for them, to do things for them when they need them doing. Now that is within reason. Obviously you are a class teacher, there's some things that you cannot do, but do work with the children, do everything you can to make it a nice working environment for them, a nice area for them to work, a nice quiet space for them to work. Making sure the environment in the classroom is good for the children is so important, okay? If you've got these expectations and the work's meant to be lovely and neat, it's meant to be perfect, it's meant to be written correctly, spelt correctly, all this, but then the classroom is really, really noisy, and there's stuff going on outside, and there's people running in and out of the classroom, and there's all sorts going on, the children will not be able to concentrate, will not be able to keep their ideas flowing, themselves going through the work, so it will not be possible to keep that expectation of the really, really neat, well done work going the whole time. However, if you have a nice quiet classroom and everything is going really well, and everything is, children are focusing, concentrating and engaged in the lesson, then you'll suddenly find that the expectations you've set will be being met a lot more, because the children have got the extra mental brain space to think about what they're meant to be doing. When other people aren't talking to them, other people aren't distracting them, it's so much easier to follow the instructions that you have set. So I know it's a bit of a quicker video, guys, today, but hopefully you've gained some useful tips here on how to make sure children are engaged in lessons and you are keeping up with those expectations that you've set at the start of the year. And as always, if you've got any questions, do let me know on a Tuesday, Friday and a Sunday. There'll be a new video, and thank you very much for all the support. I'll see you soon.